The phone buzzed on the metal bench outside the emergency ward. Deposit required before surgery, the message read. 2 million naira equivalent. Within 48 hours. Ivy did not blink. She held the phone like it could bite her. A stretcher rolled past. Nurses ran. Somewhere, a woman sobbed into her scarf. The corridor lights hummed. Inside the ward, her grandmother fought for breath. "I'm here, Nana," Ivy had said before they wheeled her away. "I won't fail you." The words were brave in her mouth, but they were weak in her pocket. Her balance could not buy even the bandage on her grandmother's arm. She had 2 jobs and a scholarship. She slept 4 hours, most nights. She saved coins in a jar as if coins were seeds that could grow into a hospital bill. But the bill stayed like a mountain, cold and tall, and time slid away like wet glass. Outside the hospital, the city wind pushed at her thin jacket. Bright screens shouted at the night with ads, celebrity faces, perfumes, and luxury items. Someone laughed behind a tinted car window. A siren cried. Ivy's chest burned. She called the last number in her list. "Leah," she said. "They need the money by morning." Leah was her roommate. Leah had tried everything, including crowdfunding, begging in alumni groups, and church groups. No one had that kind of money waiting in a drawer. Leah's voice came quiet and flat. "There's something I can ask, but you won't like it." "What is it?" Ivy asked eagerly. "Do you remember Piper from the cafeteria shift? She knows someone." Listen, there was a thing. A private thing. It solved her debt in one night." The wind moved again. Ivy gripped the railing of the bus stop to stay steady. "No," she said. "Ivy, no. You said you wouldn't fail, Nana." There was silence. A bus arrived and left. The bench stayed cold. Ivy stood there, her eyes dry and burning, until the city turned the corner of night and became late. Then very late, then early. She walked back into the hospital. She stood by the vending machine. She stared at rows of juice and water she could not taste. Then she called Leah again. "Tell Piper to send the address." It was a rooftop bar with glass on every side and a pool that didn't make sense under the moon. Everything gleamed. The waiters looked like they were born in tuxedos. The elevator opened into soft music and soft voices. Ivy's shoes made no sound on the floor. Piper met her near the water. "You can still leave," Piper said. "You can turn around and walk out. Nobody is forcing you." "Did you regret it?" Ivy asked. Piper's mouth tilted. "I regret the reason. I don't regret the outcome." Piper squeezed her hand, and then stepped aside as a man in a simple black suit walked over with no tie and no need. He moved like a human answer key, measured and certain. "Mr. West," Piper said. "This is Ivy." Damian. West nodded once. "You can call me Damian." His voice was low and even. His eyes looked like they collected light. He was not handsome like a poster. He was handsome like a door that always opened with ease, with no struggle and no noise. "Would you like water?" he asked. "Water." Ivy almost laughed. She nodded and took the glass. Her fingers shook. "Piper told me you need help," he said. "My grandmother." Ivy's voice came out smaller than she wanted. "She needs surgery. They won't do it without a deposit." "How much?" he asked. She told him. He did not wince. He did not blink. "And you're a student?" he asked. "Yes," Ivy answered. He watched her for a long heartbeat. "Not cruel, just complete." "I make direct deals," Damian said. "No games. One night. No harm. No restraint. You can stop at any time. You can walk away even now. If you stay, I transfer the amount before you leave. No contact after, unless you ask for it. I won't ask for it." His calm made the room feel smaller. Ivy looked at the lights of the city. She thought of her grandmother's laugh, the way it lifted people like a kite string. She thought of hospital bills like teeth. She thought of choices that were not choices in a world that loved to call them that. "Okay," she said. He nodded. "I'll have my driver take you downstairs. There's a private floor. You can say no at any point, Ivy. It is still your life." She followed him to the elevator, the glass panels reflecting a girl who looked like her and did not feel like her. In the mirrored doors, Ivy did not see hunger or pity. She saw a cliff. She stepped off it herself. He was gentle. He asked before he touched her. He listened to what she liked. He did not take what she did not offer. He did not speak like a conqueror. He did not pretend it was love. He did not mock it either. When the night ended, he left an envelope on the small table and his eyes on the floor. "For the hospital," he said. "I'll send the banking details," she whispered. "You'll see the alert before morning. he said confidently. He walked to the door and then stopped. You reminded me of someone I once knew, he said. Someone who believed that the world is not a place to be survived, but a place to be tended. Then he left. The room went quiet. Ivy sat on the edge of the bed and cried without a sound, her hands open and shaking, as if they were full of rain. The credit alert landed at dawn. The payment covered the deposit and so much more. There was a note attached to the description in the app which read, "For her surgery. The rest is for your aftercare. You owe me nothing. DW." When the nurse said, "We can proceed," Ivy's knees failed. She had to sit on the floor beside the row of blue chairs as the sun came up over the parking garage and turned the world into gold. Leah held her. Piper texted a simple heart. They took her grandmother into surgery. An hour became 2. 2 became 4. Ivy prayed with her forehead pressed to her hands. She promised things to God. She promised things to the air. She promised things to herself. The doctor came out with soft eyes as he said, "She is stable. The surgery went well, but she will need time to recover." Ivy stood at the window of the recovery room and watched her grandmother sleep. For lines, machine beeping, oxygen on. Ivy laid her hand on the old woman's fingers and felt warmth carry a weight through her chest. "Thank you," she whispered to the machines, to the doctor, to a man she had met at the top of a building. The thank you felt too small, but she said it anyway. Life did not snap back like rubber. It stretched. It trembled. And it learned a new shape. Ivy returned to attending classes and her cafeteria shifts. She carried her secret in a plain backpack and a steady face. She paid for extra medicine and better food for Nana. She learned how to smile at the nurses. At night, she heard her own breath and sometimes heard the soft click of a door and the lift of a voice sing, "You reminded me of someone." On those nights, she got up and folded laundry until dawn. Leah watched her like a nurse watches in 4 bag, quiet and careful. Piper checked in and then stopped checking in, because some kinds of love are respectful enough to become distant. When the notice went up for the Westbridge Holdings summer program, Ivy read it twice. They took 12 interns each year from hundreds of applications. Westbridge sat like a mountain in the middle of the city, made of glass and order and decisions that bent markets. The stipend could pay her rent for months. The mentorship led to jobs at places that never put up posters. People with Westbridge on their CV walked differently, like the floor was safer. Ivy stared at the form. She stared at the company name. She looked at the initials and felt the room get hot. DW. Yet, she filled the form anyway. She wrote an essay that did not sound desperate and did not sound proud. She wrote about operations and supply chains, and the way a good system was like a good city. Honest, neat, kind to the people who never got invited to the meeting. She wrote about the cafeteria and how she fixed the weekly waste problem by reorganizing the task board and rotating the late shift. She attached her grades. And then, she pressed send. She did not tell Leah. When the email came with the subject, Westbridge Holdings interview, she put her head on the desk and cried again. But this time the tears were bright and light. Leah found her and pressed a cup of water into her hand. "You got something," Leah said. "I got something." Ivy replied. "You'll be great." Leah cheered. "I don't know." Ivy whispered. "You've already been brave," Leah said. "Now just be good at your job." The lobby of Westbridge felt like it had been ironed. It had soft chairs, big windows, and people in quiet shoes. A calm perfume of paper and new machines. Ivy looked up at the 10-story atrium and felt like a small letter in a very important book. "Name?" the receptionist asked. "Ivy Rowan," she said, and her own voice sounded clean against the marble. The interview panel asked about process and ethics. They asked what she would do if a vendor lied. They asked how she would cut waste without cutting staff pay. Ivy kept her answers simple. She did not try to sound clever. She went back to the cafeteria, to the chalkboard, to people's faces at 2 a.m. when the last tray came in. They offered her a place. When she walked out with the offer letter, she wanted to run down the steps like a girl in a music video. Instead, she walked to the bus stop and texted Leah a single photo. "Welcome to Westbridge" on the wall. "Girl, you did it," Leah replied. "Buy bread on your way back. The good kind." On the first day of internship at Westbridge, Ivy wore a white blouse and a dark skirt that did not pull at the waist. She tied her hair back in a neat bun. She carried a small notebook and 3 pens. The intern cohort met in a glass room on the 8th floor. 12 faces full of hope and quiet fear. A manager named Mr. Kent gave them IDs and told them to be curious, polite, and useful. He spoke about excellence like it was a habit, not an event. Ivy wrote that down. And once a week, Mr. Kent said, interns may sit in on the executive meeting, strictly as observers. No talking unless spoken to. Your phone's away, and your eyes open. The door to the room opened. He walked in like a sunrise that knew it was on time. Damian West. In a navy suit this time. No tie again. The room altered itself to hold him. Good morning, he said. Good morning, the interns answered. Ivy's fingers gripped the edge of her notebook until the paper bent. She kept her gaze on the table. She nodded with everyone else. She felt her pulse climb her throat. His eyes passed across the room. They did not stop. He does not know me, she thought, and something inside her loosened like a knot with a tired hand. She still did not look up. Welcome to Westbridge, he said. We build quietly here. We fix things without a fuss. And we look after the smallest person in the chain. If you learn only that, it will be enough. Then he left. The room started breathing again. Ivy let go of the paper. It had left a mark in her palm that stayed for the next hour. For 3 weeks, Ivy was a shadow that made useful notes. She mapped the pantry. She learned the names of cleaners and the names of obnoxious printers. She found a glitch in the inventory software and wrote a short memo to the ops lead. The ops lead forwarded it to Mr. Kent. Mr. Kent wrote, "Good catch," in the subject line and copied 3 people she had never met. The issue got fixed the next morning. She sat in the back of her first executive meeting and watched men and women talk about metal and ports and weather. Numbers moved across the screen like weather maps. Damian asked questions that cut things into neat pieces. He did not shout. He did not perform. Yet, he took blames like salt. And he handed praise like bread. At one point he looked toward the back row, his eyes moving across everyone's faces as if placing them in a file. He paused, perhaps because someone had shifted, perhaps because an intern coughed. Ivy stared at her notebook until the letters blurred. After the meeting, in the elevator, she found herself next to him because the world is a small cupboard when you least want it to be. 8th floor, he asked, his hand near the buttons. Yes, she whispered. The doors closed. The elevator began to move. Are you new to the program? He asked. Yes. Ivy replied. How are you finding it? He asked. I like it, she said. It is calm. Calm. He sounded amused. That's not how most people describe it. It is calm because people know what they are doing, she said. He glanced at her. She kept her eyes on the little screen with the numbers lighting up. Good answer, he said. The doors opened. She stepped out. She did not look back. She walked to the restroom, shut herself in a stall, sat on the closed lid, and pressed her hands over her face. Her heartbeat calmed, then climbed again, then calmed. She talked to herself like an old friend. Breathe. Open the door. Wash your hands. Go back to your desk. And do your work. And she did just that. He started noticing her in the small ways that mattered. She did not invite it. She did not run from it either. She kept doing her job. In week 5, a vendor arrived with sugar prices that did not obey the market. He smiled too much. He used the word family, like a club membership. Ivy asked for the invoice history and a delivery log. He left 30 minutes later with less smile. Mr. Kent watched from his door and then called Ivy in. What did you see? He asked. The dates didn't match the shipment logs, she said. Also, his pitch was vague. He used 3 adjectives when we asked for a number. Mr. Kent leaned back and said, We need more people who hear the difference. He forwarded her notes to the compliance team. The compliance team found a small rot and cut it out. The floor felt cleaner the next day in that strange way buildings feel honest when people inside them behave. In week 7, the executive assistant called Ivy to the 20th floor. Mr. West wants the intern who wrote the inventory memo, she said. Is that you? Yes. Ivy replied. Follow me, she said. Ivy's palms went damp. The hallway was quiet enough to hear a pin drop. She stepped into an office that looked out over the city like a person who had foregone sleep for 3 decades. Damian sat behind a tidy desk. Rowan, he said, checking the file on his screen. Good work on the inventory thing. Thank you. Ivy replied. You were in operations? He asked. Yes, she replied. He nodded at the whiteboard behind him and said, What would you change in the distribution model for the West Docks, 2nd quarter, if you had to cut delays by 10% without hiring? She blinked. The question was not a question. It was a gate to a path. She looked at the map on the board. She saw red circles for ports. She saw arrows like rivers. She talked about staggered loading and revised shift overlap and the coffee machine that always broke at 3 p.m., which was a joke and not a joke. She talked about a buddy system between the receiving bay and the call desk so that paperwork did not sit in the wrong inbox at 5:58. She talked about the small levers you pull when budgets say no. He listened with his head tilted in that same complete way. When she stopped, he smiled the way people smile when a piece clicks into a gear. Simple, he said. And useful. She nodded. Thank you. Who mentored you? He asked. No one. She replied calmly. He studied her. Something sparkled in his eyes. She felt it from across the desk like a change in weather. Okay, he said. Keep sending memos if you see things. He turned back to his screen. It should have been the end of it. It almost was. As she reached for the door, a drop of perfume lifted because she moved. It was a lavender, light and clean. Not expensive. Not cheap. The kind grandmothers tell you smells like a field they walked through when they were young. He straightened. She felt it without looking. Rowan, he said. She looked back. He was staring at the air between them, as if a memory had walked in and sat down. Did we? He stopped. He shook his head once. The moment closed. Never mind. Good work. She left. In the elevator, alone, she pressed her fist to her mouth and swore softly at nobody for being a human being. The gala came in week 10. Westbridge sponsored a hospital wing that would treat people like Nana with less paperwork and more respect. The company threw a party to announce it. Mr. Kent needed volunteers to help backstage. Ivy said yes before her brain could make a speech. The hall looked like a movie, with lights like warm rain, glass that held stars even indoors, a small orchestra, and a stage with a simple banner that says, "Care is a choice." Ivy moved boxes and checked name tags. She drank water from paper cups. She stood behind the curtain and listened as Damian spoke to donors and nurses like they were the same species. He talked about systems and mercy. He said the word dignity. The room listened. Cameras flashed. After the speech, an assistant pushed a tray too fast, and a tower of crystal tilted like a bad decision. Ivy stepped in, caught the tray with both hands, and set it down before the tower went loud. Nice save, somebody said behind her. She did not need to turn to know the voice. Thank you, she said. Are you okay? He asked. Yes, she replied. Did you eat? He asked. No, she replied softly. He held out a plate, with small food like jewels arranged on it. She took one thing, and then another. He did not look away. He did not look like a man hunting. He looked like a man who had found a question and wanted to ask it right. Lavender, he said low. My mother used to grow it in the yard. My grandmother wears it, Ivy said. What is her name? He asked. Elise, she replied. He smiled, and the smile was different. It was not the neat work smile. It was a private smile, the kind that comes out in kitchens when a story lands right. My mother's name was Mara, he said. She liked simple things that could be loved without money. The hall noise swelled and folded. He looked toward the stage, then back at her. Walk with me, he said. He did not touch her. He stepped to the side, and she stepped with him, down a hallway lined with framed photos of ships and wheat and bridges. They opened a door to a small balcony. The night air was kind. The city glowed like it was remembering how. I'm not good at pretending, he said, resting his hands on the railing. Something about you has been bothering me in a familiar way. If I'm wrong, I will apologize now. If I'm right, I'll apologize again. She looked at the lights. She could say no. She could say yes. She could say nothing and walk away. She was so tired of being afraid of herself. Yes, she said. We met before. His face changed. A line at the corner of his eye softened. He nodded, and his voice when it came was barely there. Okay, he said. Thank you for telling me. It was a choice I made, she said. No one pushed me. You were kind. You were clear. You sent the money. My grandmother is alive because of it. I didn't know it was you, he said. I know, she said firmly. I wouldn't have. He stopped himself. His jaw moved. It doesn't matter what I would or wouldn't have. It happened. I am sorry for the position you were in. I am not sorry for your grandmother's life. She looked at him then. The weight in her chest shifted. It did not disappear. It stood up and stretched like a thing that had been crouching too long. I felt like I stole something, she said. I used what I had to buy what I needed. I don't know how to carry that. You used the only door you saw, he said. I built the house. If the door was wrong, it is not you who needs to fix it. They stood there, the city humming. A light breeze touched her cheek. She wanted to cry and did not. She wanted to reach for him and did not. He cleared his throat. Conflict of interest, he said. Power imbalance. These are not small words. You're an intern. I am me. I don't want to harm your path. I don't want you to feel watched or owed. I don't feel owed, she said. I feel seen. And that scares me more. He nodded. We can set boundaries. I can ask HR to move you to a team where I have no reach. Or you can resign the program with a full stipend and a letter that opens other doors. You will choose. No pressure. No penalty. The work matters to me, she said. I want to stay, but I want to stand up straight when I do. Then we will write it down, he said. Clean, boring, and safe. She laughed, a small sound that felt like a window opening. Boring is good. Sometimes, he said, and his mouth curved. Not always. They both looked away in the same second, like two people who had agreed not to fall out of a window. He turned back first. There is something else. If there is a version of this life where we speak outside of meetings, I will wait until the program ends. I will not ask for your number. I will not stand in your hallway. If you want coffee then, you can text me. If you don't, I will never raise it. She breathed in. She breathed out. Then, she placed each breath where it belonged. Okay, she said. Okay, he responded. They both went back inside. The next weeks held their line. HR moved her to a team that handled rural distribution pilots. She visited small hubs where one truck and one spreadsheet made the difference between medicine arriving on Tuesday or not arriving at all. She wrote memos about beautiful things like a driver who fixed his own axle with wire and ugly things like a hearsay fee a guard asked for at the gate. She learned to put a price next to a story so that stories could change offices. She saw Damian in meetings. He did not look for her. He did not look away from her either. It was like watching a dancer pretend he was just walking down a street. One late evening, the building emptied down to cleaners. Ivy stood at a long window on the 12th floor and looked at a thunderstorm arrive like a marching band. The first drops hit. The city blurred. The lightning stayed far. The dark turned gentle. Damian came out of a conference room, his sleeves rolled up, his tie still absent, and his hair out of its perfect line. He stopped when he saw her. Rowan, he said. Mr. West, she said politely. He stepped closer to the glass. They watched the rain right on the city. I don't like storms when they come fast, he said. My grandmother loves them, she said. She says they wash the old noise so a new day can hear itself. He smiled at the glass. Your grandmother sounds like someone my mother would have liked. She likes people who take their shoes off at the door, Ivy said. She says you can tell kindness by how quickly someone is willing to be gentle. He was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, the words were careful. I used to be sure of the lines, he said. What is right? What is clean? Then a night cut a line across a map I thought I knew. And I am still learning it. We both are, she said. The lightning flashed once. The thunder answered like a drum in another room. He glanced at her. What will you do when the program ends? Apply for analyst roles, she said. Maybe here. Maybe not. I want to build systems that make a nurse's shift easier. That sounds small. It is big enough for a whole life. It is the biggest, he said. They stood until the storm softened into something like sleep. Good night, Rowan, he said. Good night, she whispered. When he was gone, she pressed her forehead to the cool glass and let her eyes close. She felt the word after moving somewhere under her tongue and chose to wait. News broke on a Monday because news likes to hurt the day you chose to be brave. A blog posted a story about the private habits of public men. It was sloppy and mean. It used words like arrangements and interns and hotel. It showed a photo of a door that could be any door in any city. It had no names. It pointed fingers without language. It did not mention Ivy. It did not mention any real person at all. It did what gossip does. It dirted the air and left. By noon, investors called the switchboard like it was their own house. By 2, 5 reporters stood outside the building. By 3, an anonymous account posted a screen grab of a bank transfer with black bars and a note. Ask Damian West who he rescues at night. The amount was blurred. The initials were visible. Ivy sat frozen at her desk. She could not feel her feet. She could feel her pulse everywhere else. A colleague laughed with discomfort. Mr. Kent walked past faster than normal. The hall smelled like someone had broken a cold pipe. At 4, an all-staff email arrived from the executive assistant which read, Ignore external noise. Focus on work. Do not respond to the press. Leadership will address investors directly. At 5, Leah texted, "Are you okay?" Ivy stared at the tiny letters. She did not answer. Her throat closed. She opened it with a glass of water. She closed her laptop with hands that did not belong to her. When she stepped out of the building, the sky was a tired white. Cameras stood near the curb like wiry animals. A reporter asked a question into the evening. Ivy kept her eyes on the ground and walked to the bus stop. The air pressed down. Her phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. The text read, "Are you safe? D." She almost dropped it. She typed, erased, typed. Ivy, yes, with 3 dots. And nothing else. She rode the bus with her fingers warm around the phone, as if a small light lived there and someone might take it. Leah met her at the door with a clean towel, the good bread, and a bowl of soup. They ate quietly. The city outside tried to be normal. The TV tried to sell shampoo. Finally, Leah spoke. "If you want to leave the program, you can leave. You owe nobody anything." "If I leave now," Ivy said, "it will be because I am afraid. I am tired of that." Leah touched her hand. "Then stay. Do your job. Let the noise tire itself out." Damian held a press call the next morning. He did not invite cameras. He stood behind a lectern in a small room with the blinds half closed. 3 investor reps and a lawyer sat at a table. He spoke like he was in a boardroom. "We will not discuss private lives," he said. "We will not feed this. Our books are clean. Our systems are clean. If anyone inside my company has been made to feel unsafe, they can come to me directly. I will step aside while a third party investigates. The rest is smoke. I don't chase smoke." Someone asked if he denied the rumors. He said, "I deny letting gossip run my company." The lawyer said thank you. The press call ended, and the building exhaled. At lunch, Ivy carried her tray to a corner where nobody would see her almost drop the fork. She had to hold herself together from 9 to 5, and then again from 5 to sleep. The chair across from her moved. She did not look up. "May I?" a voice asked. She did not need to look to know. "You shouldn't sit here," she said, voice small and even. "People will think things." He sat anyway. He set his bottled water down. For a moment, they were just 2 people in a cafeteria, sharing the same air. "I will resign," he said softly. Her head snapped up. "What? If this noise hurts the company," he said. "I will step aside for as long as it takes for quiet and clean things to be seen again. The work is bigger than my name on a door." She stared at him. The fork trembled. "This is because of me," she said. "This is because of a world that likes to watch women drown and then argue about the water," he said. "And because I made choices that create easy shadows. I will not let those shadows fall on people who had nothing to do with any of it." "You did not wrong me," she said. "We made a trade on a hard night. You were kind." "Kindness is not the same as goodness," he said. "I am trying to learn the difference." Their eyes held. The noise of the room dimmed, then returned. "What do you want, Ivy?" he asked, using her first name in public for the first time. It landed on the table like a small bird. "I want my grandmother to get strong," she said. "I want to finish the program. I want to stand somewhere one day and know that I did not build a life out of fear." He nodded. "Then keep going. I will keep the weather off you if I can." "You can't," she said, and the honesty surprised them both. "But I can walk in it." He smiled, tired and proud. "Yes, you can." He stood up. "There's a site visit tomorrow," he said, back to Mr. West, back to work. "Rural hub. You filed the plan. You can lead it. Take Ben from logistics. Take an extra thermos." "An extra thermos?" she asked. "You'll see." Then he left. She ate a bite of bread and almost tasted it. The rural hub sat on the edge of maps. The air smelled clean and old. The hub manager's name was Joy. She wore a bright scarf and spoke like a person who had buried 3 systems and built for better ones. "You the intern who wrote the plan about shift overlaps?" Joy asked. "Yes." Ivy replied. "Good," Joy said. "We are tired of plans that sound like they were written in space." They walked the yard. Ivy took notes. She moved pallets with her hands so that her brain would not lie about weight. She listened to the drivers. She drank from the extra thermos when the afternoon got rough. It held sweet tea. She laughed. Ben laughed. The day worked. On the drive back, the sky went pink and then quiet. Ivy opened the window and felt wind on her face. Her phone buzzed. A photo came through from Leah. Nana in a chair by the window, a blanket over her knees, a bowl of peeled oranges in her lap, a smile that lit the thin room. She asked about you, Leah wrote. She said to tell you the rain last night made the air new. Ivy put her forehead against the cool window and let herself cry with joy until the city lights began. The program ended with a small ceremony in the atrium. The 12 interns stood with certificates that felt heavier than paper. Mr. Kent spoke about quiet excellence, and people clapped. Damian stood at the back. He did not speak. He clapped like the rest. His eyes found Ivy once, then went on. It was enough. More than enough. Less than everything. Exactly what was possible. After, Ivy walked out into the soft evening with Leah, who had come in a thrifted blazer and a smile that would pay rent if smiles could. They took photos under the Westbridge sign. They hugged by the bus stop. Job offers? Leah asked. 2, Ivy said. 1 here. 1 at a supply firm on River Road. Which one are you taking? Leah asked. I don't know yet, Ivy said. River Road would put me closer to the hubs. Westbridge would put me closer to different kinds of doors. Follow the place where you become the person you promised yourself, Leah said. I will try, Ivy smiled. Leah nodded at something behind Ivy. Ivy turned. He stood there without a tie, as if the tie too knew when to rest. No cameras. No investors. Just a man at the edge of a crowd who had learned to stand still. Congratulations, Damian said. Thank you, Ivy said. May I walk a little? He asked. Leah stepped away like a friend who knew the wind by sound. Ivy and Damian walked to the side of the building where the street grew quieter. I accepted the board's decision, he said. I will step back for a quarter. We will let the noise starve. I will build out the foundation wing. I want to spend time where stories are not memo-sized. I read your note, she said. About the foundation. It made me cry in the break room. Don't tell anyone. I won't, he said. They stood with their hands at their sides. 2 people who had not touched each other since a night that saved a life and complicated another. What now? She asked. Now, he said. You choose the work that makes you clean. I learn how to be a man who does not build doors that ask for too much. And after now? She asked. He smiled, small and careful. After the quarter ends, he said. If you want to have coffee in a place with bad chairs and good bread, text me. If not, I will still be building clinics, and you will still be making trucks behave. And if I text you? She asked. Then we will sit, he said. We will say hello like people who know the weather and not each other's names written on bad nights. She nodded. Okay. Okay, he said. A breeze moved the tree shadow. A bus hissed and went. The city turned a page without asking anyone. He looked at her like a promise that belonged to itself. Tell Elise I said hello, he said. Tell her lavender grows best when you cut it back at the right time. I will. He took a step back. Good night, Ivy. Good night, Damian. He walked away. She watched him turn the corner. She did not chase. She did not run. She did not decide anything too large for the night. She put her hands in her pockets and found, deep in the seam, the tiny paper note she had carried like a quiet spell since the night on the roof. You owe me nothing. She folded it once more, then tucked it into the smallest place in her wallet, the place where people keep photos or tiny pressed flowers. She looked up at the building that had taught her how to stand. The streetlights came on one by one like careful stars. Ivy breathed in. The air tasted new. She took her phone out and typed a message to Leah. Tell Nana. Tomorrow, I'm planting lavender. She did not text Damian. Not yet. The city hummed. Somewhere, a driver fixed an axle with wire and patience. In a room with a window, an old woman slept under a good blanket with a bowl of peeled oranges on the table. And a girl, no, a woman, walked into a night that did not own her. The next day would come. It would be enough. It might be more. Please like this video, share, and subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories coming up.